Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk. If you've been watching Art and Talk for a while, you know Art and Talk is all about meeting artists and being inspired. We embrace the traditional arts and also the spiritual arts to bring you diverse and quality interviews to watch and to be inspired by. We dive into the heart and mind of each of our artist guests to gain a deeper insight into their art, their message, and their process. If you're new to Art and Talk, welcome. And those that have been watching for a while, thank you so much for your continued support. All right, so today we're continuing to bring you another guest artist from the Being Heard, Being Seen exhibit, which is currently on view at the Cultural Council for Palm Beach County and Lake Worth Beach, Florida. We hope you've had a moment to check out some of the other artist interviews. So the Being Heard, Being Seen exhibit honors the LGBTQ plus community with thought-provoking artworks created by Palm Beach County artists. So today our guest is a multidisciplinary artist. He is a painter, he's a designer, and he's also a journalist. We'll be diving into his abstract painting and also his design work in the bridal industry. And we'll be looking at examples and photos of each. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Deon Jefferson. Hi, Deon, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so you have quite a varied background as a multidisciplinary artist.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go ahead and let's tap into your painting, which you
Okay.
lean into the area of abstract, and you've been influenced by several American painters such as Jackson Pollock and Keith Haring and others. Maybe a point of starting would be, what was your connection to these artists? What did you resonate with, and how did that influence your paintings?
Oh, good, beautiful question. I'll start with Keith Haring. Of course, we're talking about the Being Seen, exhibition with LGBT artists, and who else to get inspiration from than Keith Haring, who is definitely, died of AIDS and AIDS complications, and he was definitely in the LGBT community. So he was all about activism. His work was, abstract, so to speak, but he was strictly about activism. He was about expressing himself, and he was, really about giving light to issues in the community that people really were not, dealing with. Aside from that, I'm just a huge fan of him growing up in Philadelphia. I loved his mother. I have so many different DVDs of his mom talking about when he made the transition from going to regular school and when he started meeting Black people for the first time, which kind of really influenced his art, which is really kind of how he got like funky when he moved to New York. So I just love the way he uses colors. He wasn't really about blending, shading. He was like just strict, a lot of solid colors, a lot of hard lines. So I love Keith Haring for that aspect. Um, Jackson Pollock. I just recently got into Jackson Pollock about 2 years ago. He, just pretty much how he transformed the abstract world and how he was a rebel, how he really did not, his technique. I love how he used to paint. If you've ever seen, if you have a chance, go watch the movie. It's called Pollock, and it really gives you detailed account of how he used to paint. He would lay the canvas on the ground, and he would use interior house paint, which is really cool. And he would just kind of, people will call it scribble, but at the end of the result, it came out to be extremely beautiful. So I love him in that regard. So yeah, I love people who, of course, these are people who've gone to art school or people who may have acquired the skill, but I've done both. I've gone to art school and I've also acquired some skills along the way. So I like being able to mirror my work or be inspired by those artists because they learn the techniques like the professionals, and then they learn to break them to create their own signatures. So
Mhm. So it sounds like kind of like breaking a mold, breaking certain conventional aspects of visual art, since we're talking about your painting, is really important to you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's, you know, when you go to a lot of classes or just being in our lives on a regular basis, you always have a lot of rules. There's a lot of rules and there's a lot of standards and there's a lot of, you know, concepts. When you learn those, I think it's great for you to be able to learn those. But I think that's how we carve our own lane and get to have a signature, so to speak, when you learn how to break the rules like a pro. So.
Mhm. And color and shape are key for you, very strong influences in your abstract work. Can you touch upon that with us, Deon?
Yeah, as far as shape, I'll start there. I am in my house growing up, and I was raised by my grandparents. So my home had a lot of African American art in our home. I didn't realize how cool that was back in the day, but growing up now, I'm like, wow, we were really cultured, and I didn't even know it. But we had a lot of African American art in the house. So a lot of the different tapestries, the different shapes, the different textiles, triangles, different shapes that always like kind of draw, you know, kind of stuck out to me. Even in the 70s, you know, those different type of hard line paintings with different shapes. So I really like that aspect. So yeah, I really like shape. Bridal is another really reason why I like to incorporate shape, just because, you know, that's just, you know, being able to construct a garment, you have to be able to start with the shape first. So I like to be able to do that with my paintings. Going into it, of course, I know it's going to be abstract of some sort, but I kind of have an idea of what shape or what realm I want to dive into. So I love shape and color, of course. Love color. You see all I got all different kind of colors back here. But yeah, I think that color can say so many different things. The color black can mean different things to different people. The color red. I'm drawn to emotional attachment. So that's what color does to me. I can see the most beautiful mustard yellow hat in Target, and I have to buy it because I'm emotionally attached to that color. So that's you know, when my paintings sell, I get upset. I get happy because there's money in my pocket, but again, I get sad because I'm emotionally attached to that piece, and I'm gonna miss seeing that piece every day. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. So color has an emotional response, or like as you said, an attachment to it. So color is a way for you to convey your emotions through your art, and in addition to shape, as we've been discussing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to. I love color. I think before I talk about shape and like a painting, like I'd pick out the. I pretty much pick out the paints first. Like, ooh, I know I like this red. I know I like this. Most of my, for some reason, I don't know why, but I think you can always find the color red in my paintings. And if you can look back here, I didn't realize that, and I'm like, red shows up a lot. Teal shows up a lot in some of my paintings, but red is, I don't know what it is, but that's a color that I automatically always gravitate towards when it comes to paintings.
Mhm. So red is kind of like in some way comes into your work, kind of maybe like a little bit of a signature color, at least making some kind of visual appearance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, Christian Louboutin, he has the red bottoms, and that's his thing.
Mhm.
So Tiffany, she has blue, and that's her thing. So yeah, red is definitely something that I see all the time when I'm painting.
It sounds, Dan, like you kind of set the stage a little bit for your process when you go into creating your abstract work. It sounds like you begin with the color, like you gravitate towards certain colors, and then from there, can you take us through your process of shape and then how you approach the canvas?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Of course, color, just picking out whatever color, just, you know, if it's abstract, not anything can inspire me. I actually I did a painting recently, and I don't know if I gave you a picture of it, but I found the canvas at the thrift store. Okay. During the pandemic, you know, and I couldn't always make it to the art store. Or there was one time where I would literally go to my local Walmart where I would buy canvases, and there were no canvases whatsoever. Literally, people were, and this was we were in the thick of the pandemic. So I would go to the thrift stores and I would find these, beautiful canvases, same size, large scale paintings, 24 by 36, I guess you could say, and even larger. I would find those and I would like refurbish those, paint over it, pick a solid base color, not a light color. I would do like a purple or a black, to kind of make it all over, because you have to make a whole new canvas. Whatever they had on the canvas, you have to kind of do it over. So I pick like a base color and then I let it dry, and then I'm able to then tackle it from there. So what I did with actually one of them, it's actually up there. It's all the way at the top. With that one was from the thrift store. I started with it, it was all purple. And then I used the palette knife to incorporate the colors. It has words written all over it, for Women's History Month. It's I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan. And I was listening to some vinyls one day, and that's what I was feeling. I love listening to music when I'm painting as well. So that can be a really key indicator whenever I'm painting, depending on my mood, or depending on what I'm listening to. I have a lot of vinyl records. I listen to vinyls. So that day I think I was listening to Shaka Khan. So yeah, it inspiration pretty much comes to me randomly. I don't really plan out I very rarely plan out my paintings. Like I'm gonna do a painting of a flamingo or bird. Like it never comes out that way. I just kind of start with the color and just kind of see where I'm feeling at that moment.
Mhm. I love how you found an innovative solution to continue painting during the pandemic. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because as you were saying, you were going to your local Walmart and you couldn't find the canvases. So you were like, okay, well, I want to paint. And then you found a solution. So I thought that was really cool. Thank you for sharing that. So your approach seems very spontaneous. We know you love color. We know you love shape. You're listening to vinyl. You may be a certain emotion or mood that's taking place in the moment, and then you're just kind of letting that be a catalyst for your expression through your painting.
Yes, but I do also want to say, I get commissions. People say, hey, just do this for a commission, and that's fine. And then a lot of times I'll do it for an upcoming exhibition. So I do now, when I know that there's an exhibition coming up, I'll do something specific for that if I think it lends itself to the exhibition. So
yeah. And let's talk about your experience in the bridal industry as a designer before we start to look at some of your work specifically. So you have a rich background in that. Tap us into designing and the whole bridal work that you've created.
okay, cool. It's a little weird story. I'll start with the coolest part. When I graduated college, I graduated with a degree in communications, and my minor was in theater and speech. I really, really, really wanted to go to fashion design school. In college, I went to a liberal arts college, so I was able to Central State University in Ohio. It's a HBCU. I was able to dive into a lot of different avenues. So we had fashion shows, production that involved clothing, theater productions that involved clothing. So clothing was my thing. So I knew that once I graduated college, I wanted to continue and I wanted to pursue some type of career as a designer. Well, I had the, I guess, you can say I wanted to do it, but I had no experience putting anything together. So I wasn't a sewer. I didn't know how to sew. I didn't have any experience, drafting garments, constructing them, any experience with croquis, any experience with fabrics. I was pretty much green. I just knew I loved emotional attachment, and I knew that I knew how to pick out outfits, and I knew that I had a style. So what I did was I applied for, I don't know why, looking back on it, it was kind of a crazy decision, but I applied for a second bachelor's with Kent State, and Kent State had a fashion design program. I only did that because I wanted to stay in state. It was in Ohio. So I did not get in, of course. And I told you that I had no experience, so that was no surprise in me getting in. At the time, I was devastated because this is my dream. But I knew once they denied me, that I did not have the background, I didn't have the experience, and I didn't have anything to put in my resume or my portfolio worthy enough for them to say, yes, let's even give him a chance. So with that being said, again, I had graduated college, not really knowing exactly what I want to do or where to go. So I then decided to get a job at a bridal store. Okay. Now this is a little weird because I'm a guy, even though I'm a gay guy, there's still, some stipulations or some hesitations with you dressing women or you working in a bridal store. I don't appear, some people don't automatically guess that I am gay just by my demeanor, I guess you can say. So, naturally when you see one, they would run like, oh, he's not dressing me. He's not going to see me naked or whatever. But I needed the experience. I needed the experience. I needed to dress people outside of my college friends or my buddies. So that's what I did. Well, I guess I was moving in the right direction, not even knowing, because one day they told us that we had to come to, now we working in bridal, we had to like be at the store at like, I want to say like 10 o'clock on a Saturday because we have all day appointments. So they told me to come in at like 9 o'clock that Saturday. And I'm like, what? We have to wake up an hour earlier? So to make a long story short, they said that they were going to have some producers come to the show. Producers come in and talk to us. To make a long story short, it was for Undercover Boss, the CBS reality TV show. I did not know that at the time. I had never seen the show, had never heard of the show. So yes, I was on Undercover Boss, and me, little Deon, who didn't have experience in bridal, then got an opportunity to come to Florida, work in the design department in Alfred Angelo Bridal for a whole month. So that's experience there. And after that, they decided to hire me full time as one of their designers. So I went from not having any experience in fashion or just dressing my friends to then interning and then becoming an actual designer. So that was a beautiful experience. I was able to, of course, be on Undercover Boss, and it still comes on. It embarrasses the crap out of me. I was able to do New York Bridal Fashion Week a couple times. I was able to, dress some celebrities and work with Disney, which was one of the coolest opportunities. We got to kind of create Disney dresses based on the Disney princesses and Disney bridesmaid dresses. So bridal was so fun for me. I want to say 2 years ago, my most recent bridal project is I did a full bridesmaid collection, which is the images that you have. I was the sole designer, which is super cool. It was a small company, but for myself to go from where I was, where I am, to allowing them to design, I believe, 18 dresses alone, and for me to work with the manufacturer, that was a blessing. And it's experience that I am thankful for, because again, I don't have a degree in design whatsoever, but I have dresses hanging up in my closet, but people all over the world are able to wear my dresses, which is a blessing. So
I think that's such an amazing evolution of your extensive experience and work in the bridal industry. And I'm interested on your take on this. I think that it shows that even though you have had formal education, as you were saying, from different, other disciplines that you had studied, but then you really wanted to kind of move into design, and you wanted to move into the bridal industry as a designer. And what I found so interesting is that it seems like when something's meant to be, it's going to happen. Like for you, initially it didn't open up in a conventional pathway, but then look what happened. There was situation after situation after situation, and some amazing things that unfolded for you. So it just kind of shows that there's so many roads to get to where one's heart's desires are at, perhaps their purpose. What's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I'm a huge documentary fan, so I love watching other people's lives. I like seeing, and oftentimes it's like sometimes it could be like a situation where somebody was going to give up and not know exactly where they go, and then you for them to see the transition and to see the moment that brought them out is really cool. So I love documentaries in that aspect. So yes, there's so many different journeys, so many different ways you can take to get to where you think you need to be or where you should be. So yes, I agree with you 100%. This journey is not. I'm still on the journey, and it's a wild ride. But as long as you respect the process, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, Deon. Thank you. You know what? Let's go ahead and let's jump into some of your paintings. We'll look at the one from the Cultural Council course, some other examples, and some of your bridal design.
Okay.
In just a moment, and get these up. Okay.
This is actually, I had a fashion art ball last year. I applied for a grant, and I was able to receive that from PBC in Palm Beach County. And the grant was geared towards mental and behavioral health. And I was able to showcase my bridesmaid line there. So that was really, really, really cool for me. The colors were all blue, different shades of blue. Just representing tranquility, peace, and just mindfulness. So yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces that I designed. It's not, I really like bragging about it because I don't really know a lot of people like me that could say that they had their own little fashion show in Delray Beach, you know? So I'm really happy. That's a big flex for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I made the headpiece too, by the way.
Right. And first of all, I love the simplicity and the beauty and the grace, the overall design. And then I love how you're intertwining your love of color and emotional connection with, you were saying, blue, peace, tranquility, and of course relating it to the mental health, which was, a prominent focus for the art expression. Tell us also about what's going on with the headpiece.
The headpiece, I wanted them to look like goddesses. The headpieces are green. The headpieces is green because they, mental health. Green is the color geared towards mental health. So I wanted them to have some type of aspect of green. So I decided to make these green They were originally, I can show you how I made it. One second. They were made from head ends and zip ties. So they were originally the color white. They're originally white, and I made about 15 of them, and I spray painted it green. Came out beautiful. They came out beautiful. I still have them, and I'm dying for someone else to wear them again. But yeah, I like to create extra stuff too. So yeah, the headpieces were fun for me.
Oh, I love it, and such creativity using the simple materials, and then look what came from it, and the symbolism is beautiful as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the next one, Deon.
Okay.
All right.
Those are my girls. This is a continuation of what you saw. This is part of the collection that I designed. So I'll go into the picture before I go into designs. It's a really small company, like really small. So of course they always want to say marketing dollars. So what I did was, since I had an extensive bridal and background already, my friend, she was her. I was stylist and the designer. I picked all of these models. These are not models, these are my friends. Each and every single one of these young ladies are my personal friends, and they were able to dress up in my dresses and have a full-fledged photo shoot in Northwood Village in West Palm. And these are the images that are used on the website and used for branding. So I'm really happy about that. This was such a fun shoot. Everybody showed up and just worked it. I loved it. I wanted to have diversity. In bridal,
A lot of the popular companies, right? A lot of them are geared towards, you know, Caucasian females. A lot of my favorites, like Jenny Yu, David Totera, you know, a lot of them are geared towards that type. And that was something that I didn't like when I was, you know, really in the bridal industry, with a major corporation, I guess you can say. So no, I wanted diversity. I wanted a girl with long hair. I wanted a girl with dreadlocks. I wanted a girl with an afro. I wanted a Hispanic girl. I wanted a Caucasian girl. I wanted a Haitian girl. I wanted a Jamaican girl. I wanted a regular American girl from Wisconsin. So I have a lot of different flavor in there. And I think that picture really shows the diversity. None of these ladies knew each other, but they showed up and just turned out and had an amazing time. So.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing fun shoot, and I love you sharing all the different aspects that you personally brought in as a stylist and the designer as well.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That is the pieces there at the Cultural Council. The one on the right, well, the one on the left, we'll start there, is called The Perfect Day. That one is, okay, so that one is pretty much inspired by Palm Beach County colors. I love like you know how we have our Palm Beach County colors, our teals, our light colors. So that's what that was inspired by. And I started that one a little bit before the pandemic. If you see the painting, it's pretty much a lot of shapes. But the finishing touch was the white and the gray. The reason why it's called Perfect Day is because the colors, before it's just a regular painting with the shapes. So I wanted to, so to speak, show what happened when I'm not being perfect, when I'm not trying to be pristine, because that's what you have to do when you're doing these shapes. You have to be really, really, really detailed, and you know, every line counts, every stroke counts. So I'm like, hey, let me not be perfect anymore. So you can plan a pretty picnic, but you cannot predict the weather. So this one was kind of representing the pandemic. Like it started out, the year 2020 started out good, but towards the end, it kind of, you know, went bad. So that was representative of 2020, the pandemic, the perfect day. So the one on the right is going to be one of my favorites. It's called Self-Control. And with a lot of my work, I don't just create it for, you know, the aspect of creating it. It takes tolls in my life too. I carry it with me. With this particular, I started creating this one, I want to say November around last year. And it was literally the longest time I had spent with a painting ever. I don't know why, but I spent a lot of time with this painting. I was getting to like a lot of different disagreements with like family members and friends. So I wanted to get away. I wanted to go on vacation. I did not have money for a vacation. So I'm like, hey, let me just practice some self-control and stay off of social media. So I did that for a little bit. And then I started to practice self-control in other areas and aspects of my life. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to put this into the painting. So there's words that are written all over the painting, and it's self-control. I wrote the words in white because, you know, white represents pure. It represents, you know, purity. Women wear white to weddings. So I wanted that to represent some pure. The red represents pretty much the dangers that you go through. Again, I told you I use red a lot. So, the red represents the different dangers you go through when you're trying to change and when you're trying to transition into a different space, I guess you can say, or a different mindset. And black just represents the dark times that are always there. The mustard yellow that you see is just good times coming, going. It's a troll. It's my favorite out of that. It's so, I really like it. I used the palette knife and I used the paintbrush. And of course, I'm a huge fan of the poster marker pens. So I used that as well to write the words.
It's so interesting. I love you sharing the different tools that you use, like, the palette knife, the brush, and whatnot. And so the second piece sounds like it was like autobiographical in that, you were kind of working through, as you were saying, some different, tension things that were going on in your personal life.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of gain some perspective, so to speak, through your art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my favorite people, not only just art, contemporary artists, but musicians as well. They carry a lot of the weight of their artwork on them. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that characteristic for you, Deon, or was this sort of an exception piece in that respect?
No, I'm really a happy person. No, I'm just kidding. No, not really. No, it's just something that I sat with. It's just one area of my life. So yeah, no, it's just one particular area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And so, as we mentioned, these are the pieces at the Cultural Council.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay.
Ooh, this is the one that I was telling you about earlier, the one that's all the way up there. So yeah, this one it's called I'm Every Woman, and it was originally purple. It was originally purple, and then I kind of, started with the palette knife. When I did it with the palette knife, I was actually going to stop at the palette knife. I didn't want to do anything else to it. But then I let it dry, and then the morning, when I saw it in the morning, I'm like, I didn't really like the way it dried, honestly. I was not satisfied with it. So that's when I'm like, hey, I put on my Shaka Khan. I think I was listening to I was listening to the greatest hits by Shaka Khan, and I'm Every Woman came on. So I'm like, you know what? This is it right here. So I started writing the words. I'm Every Woman with my little Posca markers. These are the best in the world. So I did that all the way down. It took me probably, I want to say 2 weeks to write all the words all the way down. And then I thought it would be really cool to just add just like illusion of a woman all over the piece, because after I got finished with it, it felt like fabric. It felt like a dress that somebody could wear, or a t-shirt, or fabric. So I'm like, I like it. And the different colors, I'm Every Woman. Women come in different shapes and sizes, so women are all different shapes, all different flavors. So I think that's just a beautiful representation of how many different women we have, and how many flavors of women we have. So.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to hear you as the artist, creating abstract work and all the thought that goes into it. Because I'm not sure if a lot of people really, when they look at abstract work, because it is abstract, it's just open to so much, as opposed to, just as an example, looking at something representational and it's a still life with bottles, or flowers in a vase. This is something that really calls, I feel, for a little bit more cerebral thought process to say, like, what is the artist speaking here? Do you feel that is something that is applicable for abstract art with the artist, with the viewer?
Yeah, I do. I think that's why I like it so much, is because it allows you to escape. Like, it's abstract, so you're not allowing someone else to make up their own interpretation. Like, ooh, I like when people say, I see this, I see that. Like, I don't see any of that, but if you see that, that's totally cool with me. That's you escaping, and that's you putting yourself into my painting. So I think that's perfect. I think that's the beauty of abstract. It allows you to do whatever you want. It allows you to it's almost like a collaboration between you and the admirer. So you can do the work, and the person who's admiring it, they didn't do the actual piece, but they're putting their own interpretation with it, so they're able to collaborate. So I think it's like a freestyle collaboration, so to speak.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting perspective, Deon. And I love how you incorporated also your eye, your mind, and from your bridal work, because you were saying you know, at one point you looked at this and you said, oh my gosh, this looks like a piece of fabric. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at it and that brought a whole nother dimension to my perception. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So it's just interesting what all goes into the work to create an abstract piece. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. And here we are.
All right, so this one is Untitled. I don't have a name for this one. It's one of my favorite pieces. This one was done with a palette knife. It has a lot of texture, That one is actually right here. So it has a lot of texture. This one, it was a cool Saturday. Didn't have much going on. I wanted to paint. Painting was my goal. Didn't have a end goal in mind. So at this one, I was, it's all with interior house paint. I went to Lowe's, and that's one thing I wanted to paint too. Painting, now the canvases were gone. The paints were gone too. And I'm a cheap artist, so I like to be really inexpensive. So what I did do is I started to go get interior house paint, and the little pints of house paint were saving me so much money. So this is pretty much leftover house paint that I was able to play with and just kind of created a beautiful texture. So I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love the resourcefulness. It seems like you're always going to find a way to make it work.
I got to. I have to. I always have to make it work. My grandmother, she's probably one of the biggest inspirations to being an artist. She was a florist. She was a floral designer. She went to school for that. But she could make anything out of absolutely anything. She was the type of person where she could look at it and say, I wonder if I could make that. And I wonder what I need to get in order to put this together. So that I take a lot after my grandma.
Yeah, I can see that. That's awesome. All right.
This one is so much fun too. Again, you see the last two have a lot of red in it. This one is Untitled. I love her. I had a thing with like turban women, women who were in turbans. So the background was done first before I drew the one. This was with interior house paint. So this was the very first painting I did in the pandemic. I want to say in 2020 with interior paint. This technique, what I did was I measured the length of the canvas and I put cardboard down on the ground. Okay. So I put aluminum foil on top of the cardboard. But before I put the aluminum foil down, I crunched up the aluminum foil. So that way it's like bunched up and kind of funky. I then painted the aluminum foil. So I was just throwing paint all over the aluminum foil, no particular way, it's abstract, so no particular way. So I then grabbed my canvas. My canvas was white. It was straight out the pack. I didn't do anything to it. I took the canvas and I dipped it on top of the aluminum. I kept it there for probably 2 minutes. And I lifted it really quickly and let it start to drip. It's so cool when you do that. And that's all it did. I didn't touch it with a paintbrush or anything. So that's what it looked like before I put the lady on there. I love that technique. I think I saw it on YouTube. That's not something I learned in school. I saw this technique. He was doing a smaller painting, so I decided to do it with a larger scale. I believe this is like 24 by 36. So yeah, I loved how it came out. I love the different colors. I love the white that shows. I like the little hints of blue. So this one I am so happy with. I look at her. I have someone who's trying to buy this right now, so I'm avoiding their emails. No, not kidding. But no, I really like that. And then I just decided to do the turban lady and give her a purple lip because she's cool.
Now, when this really awesome technique that you were describing for the background, I love it. It's so free and like liberating and just kind of like trusting and being in the moment and just seeing what's going to happen. Now, once that was complete, then where did this idea come from with the woman with the turban?
That idea just came. I think I was just, I don't know, I just kind of felt the turban lady. I think one of my friends, there's a friend of mine, she's an artist, her name's Hillary. She does turban ladies all the time. So I'm like, I love women with turbans. I think that's, you know, a strong statement. I like accessories and of course fashion. So I'm like, hey, why don't I just do a turban lady? So yeah, it was no rhyme or reason why I put the turban lady on there. No rhyme or reason for the particular colors in her turban. The turban was actually done with Posca pens, the Posca marker pens, paint pens. So yeah, I really enjoy doing this. I recently did the turban lady this year, like I want to say like last month, but the piece was done in November. So I'll sometimes I'll have a piece and I'll look at it, it's not a single if I'm not showing it, and I'll say, hey, let me do something else to that piece, or I got an idea for that piece. So this was one of those. I always come back to it. You always have, you are always a different person the next day, so you just never know. I always tell my friends, I joke, I'm like, I'll say, I'll paint this piece, and just like this piece, I'll paint it and do whatever, and then I let it dry, and I'll say, when it's dry, that means God is doing the work. So after God's done doing the work, then I come and I take over after that.
That is such a cool perspective. And it seems like you really explore abstract art to all its different dimensions. And we were saying, you know, sometimes you use the painter's tape, you know, and sometimes you use the palette knife and the brush. So sometimes there's these specific shapes and there's this specificness to it in a sense. And then there's these other times where there's this just openness, like in the last couple pieces that we looked at, where it's just very free form. It's just, it feels like there's a great sense of just liberation and just being in the moment and almost like bypassing the mind and just allowing the creative process to come out. Is that kind of in the ballpark?
Yeah, it is. I'm actually going to be speaking about like 8 ways on how you can use the arts to deal with mental health next month. And that's one of the things I'll talk about. I say you can paint, but please do not paint or pick up a project like you are trying to go to an exhibition or you're trying to sell the piece. I think you should paint as a release. That's where it should start. You should always start to paint for yourself, not for anyone else, not for anyone else's reactions. Of course, you know, because in art school, you have to, I mean, it's not like you can't take critique, because in art school, we have to take critique in order to get a grade. You know, you have to be there and be able to allow your classmates to critique your work. But at the same token, you know, I think you should always paint for yourself first.
So art is for release, for yourself, and for some type of healing, some type of therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I paint like nobody's watching.
Yeah. I'm wondering, from your perspective, Deon, what is the difference? And we've touched upon this in some examples in this interview, but what is the difference in approaching the canvas, in thinking about art, in the thought process, if there is a difference between an abstract painter and a representational painter? What are some of the differences? And then perhaps also, if you could touch upon, from your perspective, what are some similarities as well?
Cool. I would say some differences. I'll start there. I would say some differences between like an abstract and a you know, regular contemporary painter is, you know, they pretty much start with an idea. I feel like they always start pretty much with a goal. There's a lot of there could be a lot of planning involved. That's pretty much the difference. With abstract, you're like, okay, let's go. Well, at least for me, let's go. I have this canvas. You know, I have this story in my head, or this idea, or this concept. But yeah, I think for me, there's really no approach to the canvas. I think the first thing I do is just make sure I have a solid base color. I start there. I think the foundation is always the best. So I think the end goal may be super abstract, but I think I always start with a basic foundation, because you can't go anywhere in life without a foundation. So yeah, I think I start with the foundation and the base color, and I kind of let that, go from there. But yeah, I think the major difference is pretty much the planning for me. I think the similarities would be, the love for it. The similarities would be the end goal. I think a really good similarity would be how they would both speak to the paintings the same. And I feel like abstract artists, no matter if it's abstract or contemporary artists, they would still describe their work the same. So yeah, I think the difference for me is probably the planning, and the same is probably the love for it.
Yeah, that was so beautifully expressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do need to move into wrapping up the show. We like to have our guests present the closing comments. So if there's perhaps something that we haven't touched upon with your art and your journey that you'd like to share, and then if you could let us know how we can stay connected with you.
Okay, perfect. As far as my journey, I am a multi-dimensional artist. Like there's a lot I do. I'm a journalist. My degree is in journalism. I sing as well. I did a solo concert at the Cultural Council where the art pieces for Black History Month. So I sing as well. So I believe that you should really be free. I am 100% free in whatever I do. I believe in the full aspect of self-expression. No matter if you are reading a book, if you're, listening to an album, I believe you should definitely be able to fully express yourself. But I believe that you should express yourself every day, no matter what art form, like nobody is watching. Do it for your own self, where can you see me next? I will be on some cable television. I don't know. I will be. You'll see me more at Pride. Pride is coming up for Palm Beach County, so I'll be doing some television appearances for Pride. You can also see me at the Mandel Library in April, when I'll be speaking about mental health and the arts. And you can look for me on my social media and my website, deoncjefferson.com, if you want to know more information or want to get in contact with me. I thank you so much. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be a guest on your show today. I saw a lot of your shows, and I am such a huge fan, just so you know. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Deon. That's kind words. I have to say that what a sense of exhilaration for life that you express in your art, all the arts. You have your hand in so many different creative fields, and it just this. I love this whole openness and free form and expression. It's just such a beautiful way to live and be and create. So I thank you not only for being on our show, but also for that inspiration that you bring forth in your art. And then of course, combining it to some very important issues, such as mental health and whatnot. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much. And I look forward to watching more of your shows.
Well, thank you so much, Deon. And much success to you. We'll stay connected with you and your different local contributions here artistically, and also some other things that develop for you. So much success with all your different creative projects, Deon. What a joy to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching Art and Talk. We always appreciate the time you take to watch our artist videos. Please do stay connected with us on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow us on our Facebook page as well. Please continue to also stay connected with us. These next couple of weeks, we'll continue to be bringing you some additional artists from the Being Heard, Being Seen exhibit at the Cultural Council for Palm Beach County in Lake West Beach, Florida. If you are local and you haven't stopped by, you have until April 9th. So do check out this exhibit of these talented artists. If you're not local, you can also jump on their website. There's a link on our Facebook page and you can check out the different artists. And there's also a link where you can take a tour as well, so you can get a preview of what it's like to actually walk through this space. All right, so we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.